joining me on a quilting tale today. My name is Shaylin, and today I want to do a little progress video to show how my quilt-alongs are going that I shared about a month ago. So I got a great response from that video, and it seemed like it was something that many viewers enjoyed, and so I thought I would just do a monthly progress video here on out until these quilt-alongs are finished. So if you go back and watch the one I posted about a month ago, it will show you in more detail what these quilt-alongs are, and I'll make sure to include the links at the bottom of this one as well. But I'm just going to be showing you the blocks I've made since that last video, and then I'll also include a collage of all the blocks together so you can see how they're starting to look. So let's go ahead and get started with the first one, and this is the Riley Blake Designs Block Challenge for 2022. And remember, these are all free quilt-alongs, so let's come in close and I'll show you what those look like.
This is block number 12. It's called Argyle Square. And this one is called Double Cross. And Mosaic Butterfly. Lots of little pieces in this one. Blake Designs Quilt-Along has a new block every Tuesday of the month, except for the last Tuesday, and so we get about 3 blocks a month. There are only 2 left, so by the time I make next month's progress video, I might even have the top put together by then, so we'll see how that goes. I'm excited to put those all together and finish a top soon. But let's move on to the next one. This is from A Quilting Life. This one releases a new block once a month, and I've already shown January through April, so I'm just going to show you my May block next. If you recall, I'm using a bolder color, this kind of goldish yellow color, as my background fabric in all these blocks, and they all have this churn dash border to give them a uniform look. These are 12.5-inch blocks, unfinished. This next one is another weekly quilt-along. This is Moda Blockheads 4, and I'm gonna pick up where I left off with block number 4, and there have been a couple bonus blocks. So this one again comes out every Wednesday, and I chose colors to kind of resemble the basic crayon box, and so bright, vivid colors. So let me show you how these are looking. These are my 9.5-inch unfinished blocks, starting with block number 4, which is called Spinner. Lots of blues and oranges in here. I really like the contrast in this one. This is block 5. It's called 2 of 5, and I tried to make a fancier little border here around the middle square. And if you're interested in doing this, if we zoom in here, you'll see that these are just made out of half square triangles. So what I ended up doing was taking 4 purple squares and 4 white squares, which I cut to 2 3/4 by 2 3/4 inches. I made half square triangles with them, and then from there I sewed the half square triangles together to make hourglass blocks, which I've demonstrated in a previous video. I'll try and link that too. But I trimmed those hourglass blocks down to 2 inches, so 2 inches unfinished, and so when they're sewn in, they're 1.5 inches sewn in. So when you stand back, it just looks like a pretty kind of jeweled border there. So that's 2 of 5. And then there was a second bonus block. This one is called Mix and Match, and I just decided to have some fun with these fabrics using mostly red and navy. These are probably the most random fabrics I have. I like the little seagulls with the french fries and beanies and galoshes, and then I'm a fan of The Office and had a little fabric left over from a little reading pillow I had made with this fabric. So there's a bunch of office quotes and just fun things from there. But I liked how there was a lot of red and blue in the seagull print that I could pick up on in the office, and these little half square triangles. And these were fun because you could orient them in so many different ways, and so I opted for these kind of bow tie looks going diagonally here. The next one is block 6, which is called Spinning into Spring. I used a lot of yellow, green, red, and white in this one. It definitely does have a spinner look to it, almost like a merry-go-round. And then this one is block 7. It's called Game Board, and I just love this cheery fabric in here. I've been waiting to use it with the little slugs and gnomes and hearts and mushroom houses. So I thought that looked really nice with the green and orange. And the last bonus block that came out is called Star Turn. This is bonus block number 3. This one's just a really vivid, cheerful block. Lots of different patterns, kind of busy going on in the fabric, but I really liked that look with it all together, and just framed by the black I think is a great contrast with the yellow.
The next quilt along is Fat Quarter Shop's Heartfelt Quilt Along, and this is the charity quilt along where they ask for a donation to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. There's more details on their website about that, and this releases once a month, but you make 5 blocks at a time. So I'm going to show you the newest block, which released the first week of May. I think I forgot to mention the Quilting Life, which also releases once a month, comes out on Wednesdays. So you can see my calendar that I showed in my first video introducing these quilt-alongs to see how I keep those organized. But let me show you the latest block from Heartfelt Quilt Along.
As I mentioned, there's just one new block for Heartfelt Quilt Along. This block is called Sweethearts, and it's a different size than the others so far. The others have been 12.5 by 12.5 unfinished. This one is 6.5 by 12.5, so it'll give the top a more dynamic look, I think. So I use the Flower Sugar Rose Kiss fabric with the Beautiful Day background and all of these. These are one of my favorite fabrics of all the quilt-alongs I'm doing, just the set. They're so cheerful and bright. So here's 5 of them. You can just see the different combinations. Happy little hearts.
Share my progress on the Brickhouse Scrappy quilt, which isn't a quilt along, it's just a make at your own pace. It's one block and I just make several of them, which I'm using to keep as a record of quilts I've done using scraps from quilts that I've made more recently. So I've made 3 new blocks since the last time I showed you my progress. So let's take a peek at those now.
These Brickhouse blocks are my largest blocks at 12.5 by 13.5 unfinished. This one is using Glam Girl fabric by Riley Blake Designs, and this is from a quilt I made for my daughter, which I still need to put the binding on. I can show pictures of it up close of the quilt so far, but it isn't finished. But this fabric is just darling. There's a lot of metallic fabric in here that shimmers, like in the words here, and the roses. Lots of fun high heels and dresses. This is definitely my 8-year-old daughter's favorite house that she would like to live in, she says. This is from a quilt I made called Ribbons, and the fabric is called Folk Art Fantasy. It was made completely out of a layer cake, and I had very few scraps left. In fact, the only scraps I had left were from the border and the binding and the backing. So there were lots of really cute fabrics, which I'll show a picture of in the quilt, but I just did not have a lot. It used almost the entire layer cake and just some scraps from finishing the top. I just love all the bunnies and the contrast of the red, white, and blue in here, and then you have this deep black and tulips in there. So lots of fun things in this fabric. Kind of have that double wedding ring looking design in some of it. And then the last house that I made is from the Tea Time collection by Lewis and Irene, and this was a blue and white quilt that I made with a pattern called Daydream, I believe. I'll double check that. But this one had different shades of blue, and I just love all the little woodland creatures sitting down for tea. Just pretty florals in this one. A little collage of teapot and tea accessories. So this is just a really charming fabric line that I enjoy, and so it's just nice to see them all come together when I put this quilt together and just see all the different fabric collections that make up these beautiful quilts. It'll be nice to have them all in one quilt. Keeping track of these quilt-alongs, you know that the first week of the month is a busy one with 4 new blocks released the first week of the month, and then it kind of tapers off to just a couple, sometimes 3 if you have a bonus block in there. So it's been pretty manageable to do, but I thought since the big week is through, I'd make another video to show my progress, and I'll continue to do that like I said. My fabric piles are dwindling down. This is the Riley Blake design Coral and Aqua, which both started off as large piles that I could hardly tie the selvage piece around, but they're getting smaller, and with just 2 blocks left, I'm glad to use some of these scraps up, and I can't wait to see that new top. I hope that you'll join me next time to see progress again on all these quilt-alongs, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.